Welcome everyone. My name is Yannick Kuehl and I am the Executive Director for the Asia Pacific region of the National Geographic Society, and I am based in Hong Kong. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of Science Agora 2022 for giving us the opportunity to have another session this year, and I'm very glad that we'll be able to join this fantastic large-scale science event organized out of Japan again this year, even though we are only able to join virtually. For today's session, I'm joined by three amazing explorers who have all taken who will all share about the amazing work that they're doing about trying to find solutions for our planet. They will share the work that they're carrying out, and while this is going to be, I guess, a good overview of the work that the National Geographic Society is funding and is trying to achieve. Today we will also have the chance to learn a little bit more about the grant opportunities that the National Geographic Society is providing, and we're always working on adding new members to our global community of National Geographic Explorers, and we're also working on expanding our reach, especially in Japan. So I do hope that this session will inspire some of you to become members of our community, or at least to apply for one of our grant opportunities. Before we start, I'd also like to emphasize that science and learning is really all about exchange and collaboration. So please do make use of the Q&A and chat function in case you have any comments or any questions. All of the explorers and the NGS staff here today would love to interact with you. So we also have the opportunity to translate any questions that are posted in Japanese to English. So please ask away anytime throughout today's sessions if you have any questions. So without further ado, I'd like to now hand over to my colleague Jae-ha Ahn. She is based in Jeju Island, Korea, and she will moderate today's session, but she will first start with giving an overview and introduction into the grant making opportunities by the National Geographic Society. So over to you, Jae-ha.
Thank you, Yannick. Hi, everyone. I'm Jae-ha Ahn. I'm based in South Korea, and I'm a research associate of National Geographic Society, and I'm supporting works in this region, this Asia Pacific region. And I welcome you for joining the National Geographic Society session today. And thank you for joining us today. So I'd like to start with the introduction to our National Geographic grant programs, which many of you may be interested in applying. So let me start my slides. The National Geographic Society, as you may know, we started long time ago, like 130 years ago. So now it's been more than 130 years of celebrating our world and all that's in it, including lives, humans, humanity, cultures, and everything. Our mission is accomplished by our power of science, exploration, education, and storytelling to illuminate and protect the wonder of our life, the wonder of our world. This is the mission of National Geographic Society, and this is what we do. How do we achieve our mission? We hope to achieve our mission by funding the explorers all over the world. Since 1888, we have awarded more than 15,000 grants to scientists, explorers, educators, and storytellers around the globe. We truly believe in the individual's power, so we like to call it investment. So we invest in a diverse global community of National Geographic Explorers. And in this 21st century era, by explorers, we mean scientists, conservationists, storytellers, educators, and technologists, and all other change makers working in all around the globe. We are really committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the process and the result of our effort on achieving our mission. So we believe that when people of every race, identity, experience, and ability have a role in our work, we finally can achieve our mission. We are now working on our new strategic plan, which is called NG Next. And this is a dynamic 5-year plan that strengthens our foundation, builds on our momentum, embeds diversity, equity, and inclusion into every aspect of our work, and sets a clear vision for the future to drive significant impact. Now I'd like to share a short video of what we are aiming through our grant programs. So let's watch the 1-minute video together.
In 1888, the National Geographic Society set out to explore the world and all that's in it. Now, we're leading a new age of exploration, building on our legendary legacy to advance a boundless future.
We're pushing the envelope of the most extreme environments on the planet.
Oh, yeah. Our global community of National Geographic Explorers are driving cutting-edge science.
We're not just contributing to science, we're contributing to history.
Wow. Transformative education.
When students see people that look like them, it gives them that motivation that they need.
And unforgettable storytelling.
That's my responsibility, to do these stories justice.
Never gets old.
This is my obsession, seeing the planet as it used to be and trying to bring it back.
And our mission to illuminate and protect the wonder of our world has never been more urgent. Together, we're meeting the challenges of today. It's so big. To achieve our bold vision for the future.
So more specifically, here's what we want to fund through our grant program. So we have our 5 focus areas that we want to support. They are oceans, landscapes, wildlife, and human history and culture, and finally technology. In ocean area, our explorers are working with indigenous people and local communities to safeguard the world ocean biodiversity and ecosystem. And in the land focus area, we support all the conservationists, researchers, or scientists, educators who helps for the conservation strategies and also helping indigenous peoples and local communities. We have this goal of protecting 30% of the planet by 2030. And also we support explorers who are specifically working for those wildlife in those ocean and land. And our explorers who are working in this wildlife focus area helps the conservation projects on the ground and protect the wildlife and engages in protecting the illegal wildlife trading and so on. And we also have many archaeologists, researchers, educators, and artists who are working in the area of human history and cultures. They are helping to deepen our understanding of what it means to be human, enrich our knowledge of our shared history, and help us preserve and protect cultural treasures around the world. And finally, the final focus area is human ingenuity. So we are supporting explorers who are developing and deploying groundbreaking technologies that help us monitor our changing planet, map the health of natural habitats, and address our planet's most pressing challenges. We also do think that education for the next generation is very important. So we always highlight education projects that inspires the next generation. And the project we support has to be related to at least one of these 5 focus areas. And the kind of the projects we fund are that can be one or more of these 5 areas, which is science, conservation, storytelling, which means photographing, documentary filmmaking, or another artistic way. And also we support education projects, technology projects. There are 2 kinds of grant programs we run always through the year. And the first one is called Level 1 project. If you're not yet National Geographic Explorer, we would like to recommend this Level 1 grant to become the National Geographic Explorer. This Level 1 grant was called Early Career Grants before, because this grant was looking for the researchers, scientists, or storytellers, or any other activists who are trying to establish themselves better in their field and hope to be connected with the other people in their area. So if you're not, as I said before, if you're not yet a National Geographic Explorer, you are eligible to apply for this grant. But if you have received any other National Geographic grant before, you are not eligible for this grant. And we don't have any limit or qualification for this grant application. You just need to be older than, you just need to be 18 or older than that age to submit your proposal. Level 1 grant funds up to $20,000 US, and it can be a project up to 1 year. And we recently changed our application process. So we run 2 times of application deadline in 1 year, and the next grant deadline will be the April 2023. And since then, we will change our application process. So we will accept pre-application first in the April of next year. And then after the assessment, you will be able to apply for the full application process. So there are basically 2 steps for the National Geographic grant application. The project can be up to 1 year length, but if you're applying for the technology project, it can be up to 2 years. the benefits of this level 1 grant is not just $20,000. We provide unique opportunities for training, networking, and mentorship, and more from the fellow National Geographic Explorers. And the next grant program is called Level 2. This Level 2 grant program is for the people who are rather established in their field already and who are seeking for the higher level of funding. And this Level 2 grant program can be applied for any National Geographic Explorers for their next step of their project. And Level 2 grant is really highly competitive, so we recommend to propose the projects that really push the boundaries in their area. And the qualification is the same. You must be 18 or older than that. The funding can be up to $100,000 but the smaller requests will be also accommodated. Level 1 grant doesn't require a pre-application. You just need to apply with the full application at once. And the project can be up to 2 years in length. And the benefit of the Level 2 grant program is that the grantees will provide mentorship. We expect the Level 2 grantees to provide their mentorship to the other explorers like Level 1 explorers or the others and contribute. We try to give more opportunities for these Level 2 grantees to contribute their expertise and participate in other speaking engagements. And if there are some additional eligibility requirements, we have a few things that we always recommend and we always highlight. And the proposal needs to be submitted in English and through our online portal. So although you can always reach out to Yannick or me to ask questions, we only accept the applications through our online portal. After this session, we will share the link for the link or address for the application, so you can see through where you will need to apply for your proposal. And the project, people always have questions about the period of their project, and our assessment process takes rather long because it is a peer review process. So if you're applying for the April next year, your project has to begin at least 6 months after your first submission. So it'll be something like October. So your project should be started at least after October to apply for the next April deadline. And if you're conducting your projects in other area if you're conducting your project in different site than you are living, you need to have at least one local collaborator to conduct the project. And we also have ethical, we also have NGS code of ethics. So you must be, this is just a, this is for sure for every project. So it is weird to say it again, but your work must be ethical and sensitive and generally aligned with the NGS code of ethics. And many people ask questions about submitting multiple projects at the same time, but you can be a project leader for only one NGS grant at a time. So if you're already a leader of one NGS grant, you can submit another project, but you can be a team member of other projects. What the National Geographic Explorers always enjoy is more than the $20,000 funding. We provide National Geographic Explorers access to the in-person and virtual training courses, and also in-person and virtual events like today. And we also have many online communities to network with other NG explorers. So you will be able to meet other explorers in APEC region, of course, and the other part of the world. And also we try to provide opportunities to present your work as much as possible through social media or virtual events, in-person events. And we also provide hardware and software to promote your work better. And also we have other funding opportunities only for the explorers. So once you become a National Geographic Explorer, you will have many other opportunities to apply for other funding sources as well. When you apply for the grant, we always try to emphasize that you need to submit in English. It just have to be English so that everyone can read, but your language skill is not a deciding factor. So don't worry about writing a great English, but just try to explain what you want to do. And we recommend to get advice from advisors and mentors as many as possible. It is always helpful to develop the better proposal. And please write in a style to inform and persuade a broader professional audiences, because we always review the proposals by different areas, the people in different areas. And if you write it in the too difficult languages or too professional languages, we cannot really see what you are trying to do. So consider just the public audiences as your reader of your projector. And we have the word limit for the application, so please be warned by our sample proposals or our guidelines in the website when you're writing your proposal. And there is a question about other media commitments, and this is the most frequently asked question. So people are confused if you have to have the media commitments or not, but actually this is not a requirement. We just want to know if you have other media commitments. And if you have the media commitments, we consider that it is well qualified for the media commitments. So actually it is better to have the media commitments. But again, this is not a requirement, so don't worry about it too much. And also please proofread your application, because we found many typos or which changes the whole meaning of the proposal many times. So please proofread your application. And please avoid proposing a vacation. You will not believe it, but many people already did it. So please propose a 1-year project that you want to achieve. And please don't submit your supervisor's project. Please submit your personal project with your narrative, your story, with your skills. And the projects putting yourself in excessive danger is not also accepted. And please avoid using unnecessary jargon. Try to be as easy as possible. And please don't submit more than 1 application. So this is the outline of our grant program. So if you have any questions, you please put your questions in the chat, or please email Yannick or me anytime. And also, since there will be many people who are introduced by 3 explorers who are participating today, so don't hesitate to reach out to them to ask questions or to be connected with us. So thank you. Yes, Yannick put the link to our grant program website, so please refer to that. Now I think we will have the exciting presentations of 3 explorers, and I can't wait to hear their story and discuss deeper about their subject. So let me start with Rajan Paudel. So I'll give you the stage to Rajan.
So, hello everyone. This is my home, Nepal. You may know Nepal as a country of Himalayas with the highest peak in the world, Mount Everest. You may also be aware of the situations that these Himalayas are facing, serious impacts of climate change. But do you know that it is not just the snow and glaciers that are disappearing? Hundreds of majestic wild animals living below the Himalayas are under pressure from human activities or human impacts on nature. So today, I'm going to share one of those stories of a species. And I'm not going to talk about snow leopards, tigers, or rhinos or elephants, but of a species that is less known to the world. This is a sloth bear. This is a unique species that is found only in parts of Nepal, India, and Sri Lanka. The species was first reported almost 230 years before. And when a European scientist first saw this species, he was very surprised. He had never seen such a species. It had a long, saggy hair and curved claws like an American sloth. But the body and the face looked more like a bear. So he named it a sloth bear, a sloth that looks like a bear. But don't get confused. It's not sluggish or lazy like a sloth, but it is more agile and considered one of the most deadliest bears in the world that can even beat off tigers. Every year, a lot of people who live near the forest get in conflict with the sloth bears. Many families, like this family in the photo that live near the Chiton National Park in the buffer zones, they lose their neighbors or their family members from sloth bear attack. Daily activities of people like this are very dependent on forest. They go to the forest to collect wild fruits, wild vegetables to feed their family. And also they feed their livestock, their goats, sheep, and cows and buffaloes. Their life depends on forests. They live every day because they live so close to the forest that they have to live every day in constant fear of being attacked by wildlife. But this is not just the story. Humans have dominated nature since long time, and sloth bears are no exception. Traditionally, human sloth bears have been used by some ethnic groups in Nepal and India as a dancing bears. Small sloth bear cubs were snatched away from the mothers, probably by killing the sloth bear mother, and they put these small cubs through a very cruel process of training and to use them for the street entertainment purposes. This tradition was thought to be completely gone, but it was not. It appeared in 2018 and again in 2020. And still, sloth bears are being poached, also for their bear biles. However, largest threat to the sloth bears is their habitat destruction. More than 50% of their habitat has already been lost. They have become extinct, already been extinct from Bangladesh, and they have not been seen for years from Bhutan. And the existing habitat in Nepal and India is being degraded. A recent study showed that sloth bears were the greatest #1 species apex predators that were most threatened by the road expansion. And because of these grave threats, sloth bears are kept as vulnerable species by the World Conservation Union. It means that if we do not take actions today, soon these beautiful species may go extinct. However, despite this tragic situation of life and death, there has been very little effort to protect sloth bears. And worryingly, we do not know, or we do not yet have very fundamental information on sloth bears from Nepal. And as you may know, how can you protect a species, or how can you do your business if you do not know how much money you have or where you want to invest it? So in 2019, with the National Geographic support, I started this mission to dig in deep to understand and explore about sloth bears and their habitat. So I have traveled multiple times, staying for weeks in the forest to conduct detailed scientific surveys. Of course, working in the forest and grasslands where tigers, rhinos, and elephants, and even venomous snakes live, it is very risky, but we need to do it, and scientists have been doing it. For understanding more about sloth bears, I have worked with students, I've worked with local partners to train them to identify sloth bear signs and to collect and communicate this information. And using the DNA, using the scat DNA, we have, and also using the various statistical process, we have obtained some fundamental information on sloth bears. Sloth bears are very important. They have very important role to play in their ecosystem. They do not, unlike other bears, they do not kill mammals for their food. Instead, they depend on tiny little insects like this in the picture, like termites and fruits. Every day, they feed thousands of termites and ants, and they love fruits. And when they eat fruits, they move, they swallow the seeds, and they help in establishing the forest. So they have a very important ecological role to maintain the ecosystem where they live. And documenting this sloth bear ecology and behavior, that is a very first step, and we are just beginning to explore. And what is more important is that we need to communicate this information so that this information can contribute towards their conservation. So making sure that the data and information that we have and that we accumulate is actually going into the practice and to conserve these species and to resolve the conflicts and to promote coexistence between human and wildlife. Within this past few years, I have been supported. I have been joined by many individuals and organizations that have supported and connected with my mission to better understand and inform about this natural world. And you don't need to be an expert, or you don't need to be a biologist to protect wildlife. Anyone or everyone can join this mission and make a difference. Next time, when you go outside, you just observe the immense diversity of plants or animals there is, listen to the birds, to the songs of birds, and most importantly, try to appreciate nature. And if you are an individual or a person that are in position, try to connect and support individuals and organizations like us who are in this mission to make this world a better place for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajan. I can agree more with that everyone can help the conservation and everyone can make the change. And by seeing this presentation, I have many questions arises and curiosities about the sloth bear in Nepal. And we will have the question and answering session after all three presentations by the explorers. So please feel free to type it on the chat or keep it until we have two other presentations and share it after all the presentations. Thank you very much, Rajan. Next, I will call out Frederick Singer for his presentation. I believe you're in
I'm mute. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, and you can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So hello everyone, I am Frederick Sneager and I'm a researcher at the University of the Ryukyus in Okinawa. So I'm a bit far from Rajan on the opposite side of Japan. Today I will introduce you a little bit about my research on the deepest part of the reef. And as you know, coral reefs are in trouble. They are amazing, colorful habitats, and they are getting less colorful when what we call coral bleaching appears. So what happens is coral live in close symbiosis with algae that provide them the food. And when they are stressed by the heat, by the temperature, for example, they will lose those algae. And if that goes for a long time, they will die. And so what happens is when they lose those algae, you can see their white skeleton. So they become completely white, hence the term coral bleaching. And this happened in Japan and in the world regularly. In Japan, there was a very massive bleaching event in 2016. And there was another one quite massive this summer, in especially Ishigaki Island in the south of Japan. And one of the hope of the reef may be found in the deeper part of the reef. So how deep do coral reef extend? Basically, what we call the deeper part of the reef are going from about 30-meter depths to over 100-meter depths. And this part of the reef is often called mesophotic coral ecosystems, or MCEs. And mesophotic means basically meso is middle and photic is light. So it's middle light. And if you look at the light penetration with the depths, you can see that around 30-meter depths, we have less than 10% of the light that is reaching the surface that reach these depths. So there is quite low light. And in parallel of the light, the temperature, you can imagine like the sea is very warm. If the air is very warm in the surface, the sea will get warmer. But the deeper you go, the more time, the more energy it will take to warm up. So if you go like around 30-meter or 50-meter depths, you have much less extreme temperature in summer. So the temperature are much more stable. So if we have corals that are stressed by the heat, going a bit deeper might be a good place to find refuge. And indeed, those less light, more stable temperature led to the idea that the deep reef could be a refuge for shallow corals. And we observed that in Okinawa with this coral, you see actually this white coral, branching coral, it's called Seriatopora or Togesango in Japanese. And it was abundant in front of our marine station in Sesoko Island in Okinawa. And after massive bleaching event in around 2001, they completely disappeared. They became extinct. But a few years later, when we dove at 40-meter depth, just offshore of the island, we found massive community of these corals, and they were very healthy. They were happy. So we went from one species that was locally extinct to a species that was just happy at depth and extinct in the shallow. So this suggested that the deep part of the reef can be actually a refuge for some shallow coral species. But if we go deeper, what we can see is there are very unique ecosystems and unique communities with both very dense coral communities and also species that are adapted to this very dark environment. And it's a whole independent ecosystem, or really different ecosystem, and we don't know many things about those. And I will speak more about those ecosystems in the coming slides. But first of all, how do we explore reefs at these depths? Of course, the simplest is to use scuba diving. And we use a lot these photo quadrats that you can see hanging from me. So it's a simple frame with a camera, and we will take picture at the bottom of the coral so we can quantify the coral cover, how healthy they are, and the diversity. However, scuba diving with air is allowed in Japan only down to 40-meter depths. So you see, we are really on the top edge of this mesophotic part. And also, even at 40 meters, we only have 15 minutes at the bottom to do all what we want. And that is a very short time to conduct research. If we want to go deeper, the first solution we found was just to attach those quadrats to a longer rope and just drop them blindly from the boat. And it gave us quite good results, but it is absolutely not targeted. We just go blind from the boat, drop them, and we hope that there is something cool at the other end of the rope. And so it takes a lot of time. It is not the most efficient way. And it takes some muscle in the arm, like to just pull up and down this rope. A more targeted approach would be to use robotics and those small, like kind of underwater drones that we have a live footage of what is at the bottom, and they can go to 100 meters or deeper. And we just pilot them around and take image. This is very good. It's kind of unlimited in time as long as you have a power source, but you cannot really take samples with that. And samples are very important for a coral researcher to identify the corals we see, for example, or to do further experiment on them. And so here comes the technical diving. And as you can see on this video of two technical divers, it's much more technical than my simple scuba diving on the top image. Like, they have 5, 6, 7 tanks with them. It needs also, so the point of technical diving is they use different gas mixing to allow them to go deeper. And with technical diving, you can dive like down to 60, 100, 150 meter depths. It's just very long dive, but it is possible. However, it requires very high technical skills and really strict formation, strict training, because you can imagine that if you dive down to 80-meter depths, if things go wrong, it goes very quickly, very wrong. So not everyone can just get equipped and just go down to those depths. And this is where we have a kind of advanced citizen science or skilled citizen science in this project that really helped a huge lot my research. And I was collaborating with technical diving instructors from actually mainland Japan and from abroad who shared this passion about the ocean, who were very interested in learning more and helping the research about coral reefs. And of course, there was a learning curve because, for example, divers are not used to touch the corals. We are always telling divers, don't touch, don't break the corals. And now I'm asking them, can you grab the corals? Can you collect the corals? So there was some skills to learn, but they learn super quick. And it's a win-win situation because they learn many things that they can share with their students, with their customers. And for us, it's really, really a precious help to access to material from these depths. And so, so far, what did we find? And I say so far because I hope we can still conduct a few more dives in this project. But we already found the deepest coral in Japan by a few meters. And we found unique, really unique communities. The images you saw at the beginning are images, and the image you see now are images by Thomas Johnson, which is a diver from Izu Peninsula, which was very key collaborators in this project. We also found some new coral species that I'm now in the process of examining and describing. And one thing we found, it was just an excuse to show you this nice video, is the deepest bubble coral in the world. And you can see here this bubble thing is a coral actually. It was known down to 60-meter depths in Red Sea, if I'm not wrong. And here we found it quite common at 80-meter depth. So it's quite deeper than what we knew so far. And it's quite exciting actually to see that there is so much diversity, when I was expecting that at 80, 100-meter depths, there would not be so much, only a few species of coral, but we found quite a lot. What we also found, unfortunately, is that those ecosystems are already endangered and threatened, not only by trash being dropped on this ecosystem, but also by active destruction from, for example, ship anchoring. A few years ago, we discovered this community, and you see it's all covered with corals and sponges, and it's amazing environment. However, when the technical diver went there, revisited this site this winter, what they saw is those big track marks. And those tracks are marks of the destruction by the anchor of the ships. So basically, the construction ship anchored there without knowing there were corals, and they destroyed it. So I hope now we can communicate with them and explain them that there are corals, that it's not a site where there is nothing, and maybe we can preserve them. This is how it should be at the bottom. And so to conclude, I would just want to say that deep reefs are actually refuge for coral reef, or at least for some corals, but we also must protect them because they are threatened. And thank you very much for your attention, and mostly thank you for all the divers who contributed to my research, who helped with this research, and all the people who supported it. And thanks for the Nat Geo Society to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frederick. I have like tons of questions about the corals, and it is so shocking and sad to see how the anchor tracks destroy the coral habitat. We have a question about your presentation. Let's have a quick Q&A session about this. How do you find citizen divers to cooperate your research? What is their incentive? This is a good question.
So actually, it happened a bit, I would say, by chance. I did not absolutely look for citizen diver, but when COVID happened, actually, my collaborators, initial collaborators from abroad, could not come immediately to Japan because Japan was closed. And I started to get in touch with some diving instructors and tech divers in Japan to ask more technical information. And through discussion, like they say, oh, maybe we can join, maybe we can help your project. And it happened like that, simply like it was a random chance. And I was not experienced in citizen science at all. I was not aiming initially for citizen science, but through this project, I realized how precious and how helpful it can be. And now we developed, hopefully, long-term collaboration with those divers.
Yeah, I know that people always want to help if they know that they can contribute, right? Thank you for the question, and thank you for the answer, Frederick. And we will have some more session for the discussion. So now let's have the third presentation. Naru, please have the stage.
Can you see?
Yes, and I can hear you very well.
Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah. Hello, I'm Narumasa Tsutsumida, and just call me Naru. I'm now working at Saitama University. It's just between Hokkaido and Okinawa, so it's good, nice in between. And I was National Geographic Asia Labs Fellow awarded in 2019. And today I'm going to talk and introduce about social sensing. This is a kind of new science communication way between students and scientists. And I'm going to show how your data is useful to scientific studies. And if you have any question in Japanese, I'm very welcome to translate in English and share with other attendees. So please don't hesitate to make any question to not only me, but also to all of the speakers. So もし日本語でもいいので質問があれば、ぜひ教えてください。Yeah. So let me start. So what is social sensing? And this photo was taken by a normal camera, which is actually GoPro, and at my main campus of Saitama University. And the camera was attached to my car. So it's just simply very beautiful cherry blossom taken in these pictures. And we also take these kind of photos by your smartphone or original digital cameras. So the starting point of my idea is it would be quite useful if scientists can collect these photos to understand the local environments and local landscape. So I particularly pay attention to cherry blossom. The right side figure, it shows the long historical time series data of cherry blossom peak timing at Kyoto since from more than 1,000 years ago. So it's important to know the peak timing is changing according to the local climate. And these days, the peak timing tends to be earlier, probably it's due to by temperature rising. So the cherry blossom is an indicator of local climate response. And we, especially Japanese, we can easily understand that cherry blossom is very beautiful and provide us cultural ecosystem services. However, the cherry blossom are prone to an invasive insect and now in danger. And so we have to deal with them to protect cherry trees. So many observation system of flowering is now developed and implemented. The popular and famous one is by station observation by, for example, by Japan Meteorological Agency. The frequency of the observation is high, while its spatial coverage is low because the observation is limited to the fixed station. And precision and continuity are obviously high, but recently the continuity may be becoming lower because the limitation of budget. So to cover them, the field observation are also implemented by volunteers, citizens, and researchers, often led by citizen science program. So in this case, the frequency may depend on how such program is active, while the spatial coverage is high because many volunteers can be involved. Precision and continuity are low compared to the station observations. So both approach have pros and cons, and we may have to explore a new observation system. So I'd like to propose an AI and social sensing approach. If we can develop an object detection AI model applied to each geotagged photos, we can identify when and where cherry blossom is happened. We are now getting a chance to collect a bunch of photos from the internet uploaded by volunteer citizens as a social network service. So we can now Mapillary, which has a huge potential as a social sensing data repository. So this Mapillary is a SNS for geotagged photos, and users can upload their own photos easily, and users can build a user-based Google Street View. And currently, more than 1.8 billion photos are available all over the world, and anybody can download them freely with open license. So we can obtain every photo with location information and date of the photo shooting. And here's one of the results. And we collect geotagged street level photos from these Mapillary services, and which were taken by users in Aizu Wakamatsu City. It's Fukushima Prefecture in Japan in April 2018. And we developed an object detection AI model to find cherry blossom from every photo and apply them. The map at the right side show that cherry blossom presence data, and right color indicates the cherry blossom was found at early April, while the dark color red indicates that the cherry blossom was found at the late April. So we haven't ever known where cherry trees were planted, and also we didn't know when cherry flower was blooming. So this is the first map to know such variation of cherry trees distributions and flowering over space and time. And here's another example from daily observation at Saitama University in spring in 2022. So this year. So I took most of the photos from my car, but some were from probably somebody. The dark color indicates the low probability of cherry blossom, while orange and yellow color indicate the high probability. So it seems that at the middle of March, less cherry blossom were found, but around the 26th March, it seems to start flowering at many areas. And at the end of March or and the beginning of April, it seems the peak blossoms. And to estimate more systematically, we also developed an estimation model of flowering events. We can automatically estimate the start of blooming and peak of blooming and the end of blooming when data is enough for the estimation over time. So to wrap up, I want to say that our daily ordinary photos are very useful, and anyone can contribute to the photo collections, and scientists are able to use them to understand the local environment. Our approach will be unique and have an advantage of easy field work because we just have to take geotagged photos and upload them to the internet. So our AI and social sensing approach doesn't require human interpretation, so no extra burden. So also it covers widely over space and time. So I'd say this approach will be quite nice to link with iNaturalist, which is a cool application by National Geographic to identify species by smartphone. So we will obtain a lot of ecological information by iNaturalist and also a social sensing approach. Yeah, and so this is the end of my talk. And huge thanks to Mr. Shuya Funada. He was one of undergrad students under my lab, and he developed the initial part of this work. So thank you for listening.